Hi to all the members of Black Fox Network. I'm here with Carice, and from GTG Advocated in Malta. I know that a lot of you have had many questions related to security token offerings in Malta. So we're here with Carice to answer that question. So welcome, Carice.
Thank you.
Maybe we can start by you can tell us a bit of what has been the involvement of GTG advocates in Malta, and we can take it from there.
Yeah, so GTG Advocates is a law firm based in Malta's capital city, Valletta. We've been established for over 20 years as a firm, and the individual partners have been working for much longer than that. We were very much involved in the drafting of the infamous, I would say, DLT laws that have been drafted here in Malta. 3 sets of legislation. Primarily, the most prominent is the Virtual Financial Assets Act, which relates to the regulation of cryptocurrencies in Malta, the creation of a new authority known as the Malta Digital Innovation Authority, and the introduction of the certification of innovative technology arrangements, which is the 3rd law that we have enacted. Our involvement was primarily because one of the partners of our firm was one of the co-drafters of the law, and we have also assisted the authority in the drafting of the rules which are accompanying these laws. So what Malta has done is create a new specific set of regulations to provide a legal framework where cryptocurrencies and activities in relation to cryptocurrencies can truly thrive. So we have created a legal basis offering a level of understanding of under what legal framework cryptocurrencies should fall, and we call this test the financial instrument test. And it helps determine whether each particular DLT asset is a virtual token, a financial instrument, which is typically the same definition as we find under MiFID, electronic money, again being the same definition under the EU's e-money directive, and then by exclusion, what we consider to be a virtual financial asset. So we have created this set of laws to provide further legal clarity, particularly when we're talking about activities that have to do with virtual financial assets and the issue of virtual financial assets.
Perfect, very clear. So now a lot of the involvement, of course, in our community in Black Fox is a lot about at this moment about raising capital or raising capital for equity, so tokenizing equity on the blockchain. Maybe you can tell us a bit about that, and then for these companies that are thinking on doing a security token offering and are looking for different locations within Europe, why should they consider Malta?
Okay. So Malta has not created a specific set of legislation, particularly for security token offerings. Reason being that we consider security tokens to fall under the ambit of financial instruments, under the financial instrument test that I've mentioned, and this is completely regulated under MiFID. So we have to abide by all the requirements that the MiFID directives and the regulation provide, because we are an EU member state. And when we're talking about a security token offering, we therefore need to also refer to the Prospectus Directive. In this case, anyone who wishes to issue a security token that is considered to be a financial instrument under MiFID would then need to see if they are doing an offer to the public. When someone is doing an offer to the public, as defined under the Prospectus Directive, in that case, a prospectus would need to be drafted in line with the Prospectus Directive itself, and this would need to be approved by the local authority, in Malta being the MFSA, and more specifically, the listing authority.
Got it, clear. So then in Malta, it's basically security token offerings are following the existing securities law.
Yes.
Right? Perfect.
To a certain extent, we cannot do otherwise either.
Exactly. And if I understood well, then companies that want to raise with a security token offering would have to, of course, comply with that existing security law, and would have to create, if it's public, a prospectus. And in the cases that they do private rounds, do they have also to go through a prospectus or to create it?
No, in that case, we would be talking about the private placement. So in that case, what is usually done is that the issuer would prepare an offering document, which would include all the necessary information that would, entice investors to invest in that particular project, and also setting out the different terms, and the functions of the particular token to encourage investors to invest. So we would make sure that the offering document, has all the necessary terms that would generally be included in this type of offering document, but it would not need to be approved by the local authority.
Perfect. And is there any cap or a maximum amount that they could raise without having to, if it's private, without having to comply, or not comply, but actually send all the documentation to the financial local authorities?
Generally, this is classified under the definition of what is an offer to the public or not. So the definition, for example, requires that if the investors invest at least 100,000 euros, because in this case, we'll obviously always have to refer to fiat currencies. But if the investors are investing at least 100,000 euros, then in that case, this would not be an offer to the public. Similarly, if the offer is, for example, made to only professional investors, or the offer is being made to less than 150 persons per member state, then this would also not be deemed to be an offer to the public. Another cap would be, for example, if you do not exceed 75 million euros over the period of 12 months.
Perfect. And now that you mentioned the professional investors, would they have different in different jurisdictions? There are different definitions for that. What's the definition of a professional investor in Malta?
Generally, the professional investor is someone who invests a minimum of 100,000 per investment. So the definition of an offer to the public already is sort of geared towards the reference to professional investors, because if there is a minimum consideration of 100,000, then that pretty much puts you also under the capping of a professional investor as well.
Perfect. So then if they would like to go through a private round, they have to basically target professional investors that would invest a minimum of 100,000.
Not necessarily, though. So to be an offer to the public, for example, if you have an offer that is made to less than 150 people in each state, then in that case, they do not need to be professional investors.
Yeah, perfect. In that case, it would be public.
No, in that case, it can still be considered to be a private placement.
Ah, interesting.
So if the offer has been made to less than 150 persons per state, it can still be qualified as a private placement, even though they are retail investors.
Okay, I understood that. Perfect. And maybe the last thing also to discuss, you in between, you mentioned the part of that it would be considered a private placement. That in some countries is regulated. I don't know, how does that go in the Maltese jurisdiction? If the private placement is also regulated, or could be done by advisors, or?
In our case, the concept of a private placement is not specifically regulated under our company laws, our investment services laws, and the listing rules that traditionally apply to public offerings. So as I mentioned, in this case, one would need to prepare an offering document, and this would obviously need to include all the necessary information, term sheet, etc., terms and conditions that investors would need to abide by when investing in this type of investment.
Perfect. Well, that was very clear. I don't know if there's anything else that we haven't talked about that you would like to mention.
Generally, the one thing I can mention is that something that often attracts attracts a lot of companies to Malta is the beneficial tax refund mechanism that Malta has, which basically allows persons who ultimate beneficial owners who are not tax resident in Malta to pay effective rate of tax on profits of 5%. That has been going on for quite a number of years now, and it has proven very successful. A lot of people have benefited from it, but I wouldn't say that Malta is just about the tax benefits. So I think as a country over the last decades, we have established ourselves as a true financial center, and we can provide a vast range of services that can cater for all types of operations.
Perfect, very clear. Well, I think I'd like to thank you and introduce you to the other members of the network. Of course, we're happy to have GTG advocates as part of the network, and for everybody that is listening to this within the other members, please, if you're considering Malta, or if you haven't considered it yet, and you might want to add it to the list, please contact directly Kiris will, or you can contact us directly, me at ryan@blackfox.network, and I'll just put you in contact with them. And of course, has to be a serious, if you have a serious, not just an idea, but a serious business case. Having said that, thank you very much, Kiris, and then we leave it until here. If you, as I said, if there's any other questions, you know, guys, how to reach us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Cheers. Let's just